So today we've got the highly anticipated and awaited for Qui-Gon Jinn. We're going to take a look at it next. Stick around. That's right, folks. We finally have gotten Qui-Gon Jinn from Galaxy's Edge. I've had this one for a little while now, but you know, with everything that happened with the Facebook page and just fighting with trying to get that back and not putting any videos out, this thing's been sitting here waiting to do a video, but I haven't had a chance to do it yet. Just got discouraged with everything that had happened and losing all of the ability to be able to share videos with you guys on our Facebook channel, our Facebook page for the channel, and just it's been very, very frustrating. But new year, new outlook, new layout. This layout here I'm going to actually be using when the new Jedi Survivor game comes out, and this or one of the other ones. I haven't quite decided which one I'm going to use yet, but I'm going to be live streaming some of the gameplay for that game when it comes out in March. But enough with that for now. Let's take a look at the new Qui-Gon Jinn Legacy Lightsaber from Galaxy's Edge. I know this is one that people have really been waiting for a while. They've been asking for it. I know myself, my whole thing was I wanted to make sure they did it right. And there are a lot of things that they did right. There are some things that they didn't do right. We're going to talk about those now. So let me go ahead and get you over to a full screen so you can see everything. So here we are. You got the normal box, you know, that they come in with the logo indicating the color of the blade as well. But inside we have the lightsaber. And I mean, it is a good looking lightsaber, but there are some problems here, honestly. Let's go ahead and take that out. And it does not come with any extras, but it just comes with the bigger box just because it's such a big lightsaber. But there it is. This is the lightsaber itself. And I'll tell you what, this thing is chunky. This thing is heavy. I'm actually quite surprised at how they've made it. But, I mean, let's be honest. It's Galaxy's Edge. It's Disney. They're not making anything that is actually screen accurate at this point to size, weight, dimensions. And, again, you know, got the issue with the electronics just aren't the greatest in the world. But with all that, let's take a look at it under the Kyber cam. Alrighty, so here we are with the Qui-Gon Jinn. Now, I do like this lightsaber. It's probably one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars trilogies. The lightsaber's always been one that people have really wanted to have, but didn't want it done wrong. They wanted to make sure it was done justice, you know, and Disney kind of, they've done some things with this one here that does help out on what a lot of people were concerned with. And let's take a look at some of that. My biggest thing is the fins that are here. I did not want it to be like some of the ones that I've seen where the fins were just slight little grooves in there, that it was because this housed all the electronics, the batteries and everything, so you didn't have, you know, the full grooves. What Disney did do is they did make it, and it's kind of hard to see, of course, because of the angles and everything, but as I'm moving in here, you can see the grooves pretty much go all the way down except for the first two right here. You got that little box that's inside there, which is what I was afraid they were going to do all the way down this lightsaber, was do it like that. But that is just because, of course, the switch and some of the electronics that are there. But that's part of the reason them doing it this way is the reason why they went with the rechargeable battery inside this one. It's a lot easier to be able to put a permanent battery inside and be able to charge it than to have one of the battery chassis that they put in many of them to be able to pull out of this particular lightsaber. And unfortunately, that's where some of the downfall comes with this lightsaber, because with this one, unfortunately, you can't replace the batteries if the battery inside goes dead. So you're kind of stuck. If you charge it, if it eventually the batteries go bad, there's really no way at this point that we know of to go in and replace those particular batteries. And I know Disney is not going to honor a warranty on those batteries to where if in a year or 2 years down the road the lightsaber stops working, that they'll replace it because the batteries have gone bad. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these sabers. Like, for instance, the other one that has the rechargeable battery being the Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, however you want to look at it, how his lightsaber is as well, how they're going to respond with the batteries on those. But what I do like is they did add the proper push button activation switch. Now, this proves, and we know Disney can actually put in push button activation switches. I don't understand why they've not used more push button activation switches the way they're supposed to be on these lightsabers instead of these slider switches. For instance, like with the Darth Sidious. Why the Darth Sidious doesn't have the activation switches for the 2 red and green buttons that are at the top. The one that really sticks out in my mind is the Episode 1 Obi-Wan. That one should have had a push button switch. It had the location for it, but they still put a rocker switch down on the body. I mean, there's just so many of them that they could have done better with activation had they used this switch. And now I know that, you know, Disney, they have it outsourced. They have a company that's doing it in China, and they're doing it for the cheapest way they possibly can. That's why the electronics are so crappy inside these lightsabers, to be honest with you. Had they done better with that, then, you know, I think people would be much more happy with the Galaxy's Edge versions of these lightsabers, but it also would be more expensive. I mean, let's be honest. To get something that has a nice smooth swing lightsaber in, you know, circuitry inside, the electronics inside, it is going to be a little bit more expensive. I mean, there are companies out there that make, you know, NeoPixel style lightsabers that have just a cheap smooth swing board in there that Disney could upgrade to and use those, and it would make it so much better for not much more, I'm sure, than what they're using inside these now. But they're not going to do that, unfortunately, because they want to keep their costs down. And I mean, honestly, as long as people like yourself and myself are paying the money for these things, they're not going to care, you know. So with that being said, let's continue to look at it. Down here on this end here, unfortunately, these I believe are supposed to be deeper grooves, and they could not because of the way that the blade works for the legacy lightsabers and the Sabi's blade, you know, Sabi's lightsabers. It's got to have that big bulky area for the blade to actually attach to, because they don't have a standard PCB board in there for the NeoPixel style blades to be able to connect to. And let's be honest, they're not going to upgrade to that either. All the rest of it, looking around, I think they did a nice job on the shroud here that's on it to make it look good. Now I'm seeing scuff marks and dings on this, and this thing has literally just been sitting in the box. So that these are issues, quality control issues coming from Disney with these lightsabers, just in general. So you've got the emitter in here with the blade plug, and then of course you've got your battery cap. Now the battery cap on here, the lettering, of course they're gonna put that on there, unfortunately, because they have to put that on all the lightsabers just for legality purposes. But you know, they could have put this on, you know, somewhere around the underneath side of the aluminum or the polished aluminum shroud that's on here, so that they weren't as much of an eyesore. Because I mean, let's be honest, that's definitely an eyesore, having those words and the lettering and everything as a big, as white lettering sticking out on a black pommel. So Disney could have done better. There's more scratches there on it. Well, that may have just been sticky or something, I don't know, because that rubbed off. Anyway, battery compartment here. I have not greased the threads on this one, as you can tell. I will do that later. But here is your rechargeable battery port. Does have the micro USB plug on there, has the indicator light there. When you plug it in, the indicator light does flash as it's charging and goes solid when it is fully charged. So that is the lightsaber itself as it sits. Let's go ahead and take a look at the blade, hear what this thing sounds like. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull the blade plug out. I'm going to go ahead and grab my, get this lined up, my Jaymoo blade. If you're interested in a Jaymoo blade, link for the Jaymoo blade is down in the description below for you to be able to purchase one of these. Let me get that light out of the way. From Jaymoo's Playground. What's nice about the Jaymoo blade, and if you want to see a video on how these work, there will be a link up here in the corner. I love this blade. Honestly, if you collect Galaxy's Edge blades, lightsabers, as you can see, I do. It is a must-have for these. I mean, the blades that come from Galaxy's Edge are trash. The LEDs in there are garbage. And you'll see what I'm talking about here as I turn this on. It's got the nice, smooth activation instead of that sectional activation, and also smooth retraction. I love that about the Jaymoo blade. It takes the Legacy lightsabers and Sabi's lightsabers to a whole new level, you know, when you're using this blade on this saber. Now, one thing I noticed with the sound, and if you can hear that, but you can hear the audio loop. That is terrible. I don't like the audio loop sound. It's not smooth. It's not a smooth transition to where you can't tell that it's looping. So they really did a crappy job, in my opinion, on the overall audio for this particular lightsaber. They could have done much better. Not any more sensitive than any of the other ones. Got to hit this one here a little bit harder, it seems like, for it to activate. But one thing I did notice with the audio, if you listen, the clash, it actually has a different clash sound. The clash, you can literally hear almost like the blades disengaging from each other at the end, and them kind of sparking, the electrical sparking going between them. Listen. Well. So it has multiple, I can see, clash sounds. You got the single there, and you hear that tick, 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 tick at the end. Then it's got a double. So it does. It has two distinct different clash sounds. It's got a double clash, and it's got a single clash. That is unique. I do like that. But that audio loop for the blade sound, it's terrible. It definitely should not sound like that. Let me know in the comments if you feel the same way. I do not like that audio loop sound for it. So, other than the audio loop issue that I'm hearing from it, it being like really bulky compared to what it should have been from Galaxy's Edge, Because I mean, if you've seen any of the custom ones that are made, they're much thinner, they're much smaller. I mean, honestly, it would be more slim, kind of like my custom Legacy, or my custom NeoPixel lightsaber that I built. If you want to see anything about this, check the link up here in the corner. I got a playlist on how I actually built this one here if you're ever interested in building your own lightsaber. But I mean, it should be much smaller size-wise than what it is. I will tell you, this thing is heavy. It is probably, if I'm not mistaken, the heaviest lightsaber that they've made, even heavier than the yellow-bladed Ray, which beforehand was the heaviest lightsaber that they've made. Standing this thing up on the scale, this thing comes in at a whopping 2.73, or 2 pounds, 7.3 ounces. So it literally is, I believe, the heaviest Legacy lightsaber that has been released so far of any of the lightsabers that have been put out there. If not, it's really, really close, but being a single lightsaber, this thing definitely has some serious weight to it. So let me know what you think about it down below in the comments. I'd love to see what you think, what your thoughts are on this lightsaber, if you're going to pick it up. If you have already picked it up, I'm just curious. Want to know what your thoughts are. So thanks for stopping by. I do appreciate your time. If you want to see more reviews on Legacy lightsabers, check out this video playlist up here in the corner. All my socials are across the bottom. As always, thanks for joining me, and may the Force be with you.